This video is a retelling of It Gets So Lonely Here visual novel. It's one big spoiler. It's made either for those who are sure they won't have time to read it, or for those who already did. So if you want to play the game yourself, follow the link in the description and then come back. In the previous part, I told you how the main character was running through the forest in an attempt to escape someone, and then she tried to find her salvation in the village. To put it brief, it didn't go quite well, and the game gave us another chance. If you want to listen to the previous part, look for the link at the description or at the right top corner, but now it's time for us to go to the castle. As I've already told you before, between the shore and the castle, I'd pick the castle. I think it's a more reasonable option, because in a castle, no matter whether it's abandoned or not, there will be just more stuff. And in the worst case scenario, it's easier to hide in the castle, given we have no other information about either the castle or the shore. The shore is basically a dead end. Unless you are a very good swimmer, of course, but as far as I remember, we as a main character were not attending a swimming pool. We were attending a conservatoire, and as far as I'm concerned, conservatoire doesn't help much with swimming. So we go to the castle. You run towards the castle, thinking of how all fairy tales eventually have a happy ending in the castle, with some kind of a grand finale and a celebration. You are very tired though, your legs feel numb, and you feel like your shins can detach from your body at any moment. But still, you try to gather all the strength and continue running towards the castle. You wonder, will there be a queen or a king? Probably there will be a princess, a fair princess with blonde hairs and blue eyes, who probably will be very compassionate towards you. Maybe she will treat you as her younger sister. You have no idea what it's like though, you never had a younger sister. But although you have all these thoughts, on the other hand you understand that some royalty can be pretty mean. Royalty are just people after all. They have their own concerns and their own vices and virtues. And you've read in stories that sometimes they are not very eager to interact with peasants. But still, you need to try. It takes some time before you finally emerge from the woods in front of a castle, but finally you do. The castle is artificial. It drowns you into the shadows that are darker and deeper than the darkest and deepest ocean. But nonetheless, there are lights in the slitted narrow windows. They make you think that the castle is not abandoned. You are not a peasant by origin though. Your family is a pretty rich one. Well, it was rich until your father made a series of poor financial decisions. But now, with this skirt all torn and dirty, and with your dirty face, you do look like a low-list peasant. You approach the grating, but there are no knights there. The gratings are open with a slit between them. You may freely come in. You muster your feelings and enter the gratings. You approach the entrance to the castle itself. It's massive, but as you touch it and try to nudge it just a little, it opens freely, producing a really loud sound. This sound should have gathered all the wardens here, but no one appears. Now it feels like no one actually lives in this castle. But if no one lives in this castle, who had lit the torches? You try to say hello, and your voice echoes through the vast empty hall, but again it is met only with silence. You decide to explore the first floor, and it turns out to be as huge as the entrance to the castle. But despite its size, you can't find anyone there. It's completely empty. Then you go to the second floor, and first you meet nothing except some old pictures and empty halls. But then you find a door which is open slightly ajar, and you see there is a fire in this room. Probably someone is there. You gently push the door and come into the room. It is a huge bedroom, and in it you see a grandiose bed with a velveteen sheet. And on the edge of the bed there sits a girl approximately your age. You don't see her face, but because of her hair, yellow as just freshly gathered wheat, and because of her dainty thin calves that protrude from the hem of her dress, you get the impression that she should be quite pretty. She's dressed in a bright red velvet dress, and on her lap is perched a porcelain doll. You find it strange that a girl of your age would play with dolls. Then she turns her head towards you and looks at you, and then you understand. She's not just pretty, she's straight beautiful. It feels surreal. Even the porcelain doll that, in theory, should symbolize the essence of feminine charm, even this doll doesn't look as pretty as her. The girl, nimbly as a ballerina, canvases the space between you two, and this space is huge indeed. Then she takes your hands and says in a very talkative, impetuous voice that doesn't actually suit your dainty appearance. She says that she's been waiting for you for so long. Now you wouldn't leave her, surely. And you don't quite understand what she means. She continues that you should be her new maid that was sent to her by ministers. And although for some reason you feel really ready to accept any role she would impose on you, you cannot hide your confusion. She notices your befuddlement. She frowns, and in a disappointed voice, she says that probably she's mistaken and you are not her new maid. You feel like you don't want to disappoint her, so you gather your strength and reply that you don't remember enrolling as her maid, but if she wills you to be her maid, you are willing to be her. You'll apologize, and you say that you are not from this country. You are not used to the customs of this castle, and you don't know who's her. And it's not a lie. You indeed are not from this country. You are from another world. She answers to you that you shouldn't worry. It's understandable, considering you are from another country. But here, everyone knows her. She's a princess of this country. If anyone else said that to you in a tone she said it, you'd probably think they are bragging, but for some reason you think that she's just sincerely telling you the truth. The next moment you realize the heaviness of the situation. Of course you anticipated for some princess to be here, but now that a real princess is standing before you, you feel really overwhelmed. She could probably order to cut your head at any moment. You look at your feet and blush red, although your red is probably much more lurid than the red of the princess's dress. You apologize once more, and the princess once more says that it's alright and continues her story. She says that she's indeed the princess of this country, and although the ministers treat her just like a little girl, she studies hard and she believes that she will eventually be a really good queen for her people. She haven't had a maid for a long time though. There were times there all the people served in the castle, but for some reason they started to disappear until the castle became completely empty. Probably she assumes the ministers stopped sending any servants to her for some reason, and she had become really bored. You wonder whether her parents visit her, the queen and the king, and the princess answers that they have been dead long ago. So the ministers rule the country now, until she becomes of age, ready to become a queen. But now, already for a long time, no one visits her castle. She has only dolls to talk to, and dolls don't make good companions. The princess continues prattling in a very conversational manner that doesn't suit her role. Comes up with the idea to show you your new bedroom, and at once to show you the layout of the castle, which is quite a maze. Fortunately, she doesn't show you every room that is there in the castle. You arrive in your new bedroom. It looks very scanty. There is an odor of oldness and misuse. There is one bed in a room, a skimpy narrow bed, not like the four-poster in the princess's chambers, which are much more opulent than this room. The princess looks at you ingratiatingly, and her look reminds you more of anticipating dog who wants a praise. You think it's funny how it doesn't suit her status as a princess at all. You make a faint smile. You think that although this room is not as cozy as your dorms in Conservatoire, it still has one really good advantage to it. The room will be completely yours to use. You say that to the princess. The princess says that she's relieved that you liked this room. The other scullery maids, they lived in a cramped room under the roof where there were 10 beds and it was even hard to move around. But you are not just a regular scullery maid. You are her lady maid. So she wanted to give you a really special room. And she says it's the best servant room there in the castle. You think that no one must have served the princess for a really long time, because this room, being the best room for servants in this castle, as the princess said, is very cold. It really looks like no one used it for a really long time. The princess interrupts her tattering. She says that she should probably stop. You're tired. She should leave you alone. She'll have all the day tomorrow to tattle. She mentions that she was often scolded for this behavior, and she says that probably you will be eventually tired of it. You say that it's alright. You understand how hard it can be to be upbraided just for who you are. The princess leaves you alone, and you take a seat upon the bed, your new bed. You change into the night clothes that hang in the wardrobe in this room, and you fall asleep pretty quick, and you sleep as deeply as the darkest night's abyss is deep. But, like the night skies, your sleep is not devoid of stars, or rather, as humans call them, dreams. But they are not exactly dreams, they are your memories of the past. You remember your dorms in conservatoire. You remember how all the girls that shared a room with you rushed to the shower first, so you were last to get to breakfast, and all the morsels were already snaffled by others. All the girls in conservatoire related to you as to a leper, unless they wanted a favor from you. And you were packed like a mule for them. You're doing all the chores for them, ironing clothes, sewing some buttons. But they were not favors, rather they were orders. They just ordered you and laughed at you while you were completing all these tasks. And these laughs did hurt, but not as much as kicks and hits from them. One day, one of the girls stumbled and accidentally pierced your palm with the scissors, or at least she pretended to do it accidentally. The scissors went into her palm deep. You lost a lot of blood, and you remember to this day the sharp scent of iron in the air. When the professor saw your hand, she shrieked at you with an accusative tone. She screamed that you should have been more careful, and you heard the giggles of all the girls in the background. Back then, you wondered, what if the scissors pierced your hand even deeper? What if the wound were even wider? Would they feel even the modicus of guilt? Probably not. Your blood meant nothing for them. You woke up rather disoriented by the bright sun that was risen rather high up. You don't remember neither what you were dreaming about nor where you actually are. Then you recall that you were escaping from... You don't actually want to remember from what you were escaping, but you do remember that now you're in a castle with a princess. You are in one piece, limbs together, face without any scars. Probably you managed to escape your pursuer. You look near the bed and you see a neatly put made outfit there. You put it on. Now you're not a student in conservatoire. Now you're a maid, and you're happy to assume your new role. You go out of your room, and first you're wandering cluelessly, because the castle is indeed huge. It's like a maze for you, but eventually you stumble across a familiar stairways. Probably the princess's room is somewhere up there. You go there, and eventually you find a familiar door. It's princess's chambers. You enter the princess's bedroom. The ceiling looks even higher in the light of the risen sun, and the bedroom seems even more opulent to you than the initial expression it gave you the previous night. You see the princess curled on the edge of her bed. She doesn't seem like her status suggests her to look at all. Her hairs are spilled upon pillows like golden rivers, and she holds a doll close to her chest. The same doll you've seen yesterday sitting on her lap. Probably that's her favorite doll. It's already late in the middle of the day, and you understand that you should wake the princess up. Well, that's probably part of your responsibility as lady's maid. You call to her, but you don't hear any response. You call to her a second time, louder, and you do hear a response now, but it's not a pleasant one. She says, "No, I want to sleep more. Please leave me alone." She's mumbling. She looks pretty enfeebled, but you do not pity her. You learned a lesson in the conservatoire. In order to be kind, sometimes you should be cruel. So you gather your strength, and you tell her to wake up once more with a really strict voice. All right, I'm waking up," says the princess. "I thought I could have had you around my finger, but it turns out not to be the case." And as such, the princess stands up. You start your morning job attending to the princess. First, you brush her hair, and she submits to this task like a cat. You think her hairs are really smooth and pleasant against your skin. Then the time comes to change her attire. She looks at you askance, but neither she asks you to turn away, nor she does any movement to take off her nightgown. Does she probably want you to take it? You're not sure, so you ask her that. And she says yes, it's your job as a lady maid. You feel very uneasy about this job. She notices your nervousness and quickly brushes it off, saying that we all look alike beneath the clothes, but you don't actually believe that. You guess that she's much more pretty than you. You start unbuttoning her nightgown nervously. You're really clumsy at it. Your fingers quiver. But she doesn't look at you, and she doesn't pay much attention at your job. She just looks over your shoulder in the window. She says that despite the sun is high, the weather should be really calm and pleasant. Finally, you take her nightgown off. She stands up for you to put on the dress, but you nervously look around and you don't see any dress nearby. She notices that, giggles, and says that the dress should be in her armoire. She asks you to put on her red dress. That's her favorite dress. When you finish your job and finally cover her naked skin with the dress, you think to yourself that it was probably the most nerve-wracking job you ever did. Probably it was even more nerve-wracking that time you were running through the forest, trying to escape from someone. She compliments you. What would I have done without you? You blush, and you have this really funny thought that it's good that the princess doesn't have any vampiric tendencies to her, because otherwise she'd want to drink all this fresh blood that became so visible on your cheeks. So the princess takes you for a walk outside, and while you're descending multiple castle stairwells, she moves elegantly like a cloud. The dress whizzes around her, and her hair shifts behind her like a shroud. Finally, you descend into an inner courtyard. It's completely enclosed by grandiose castle walls that stand silently like sentinels. The weather indeed is not too hot, but rather pleasant. But the courtyard itself doesn't look grandiose like the rest of the castle does. It's really skimpy, and it's all filled with weed, as if no one tended to this place for a really long time. But despite your having this gloomy impression of this courtyard, the princess, on the other hand, gambols jauntily. She's enjoying every part of this gloomy place. Suddenly, she abrupts her frolicking near the bush of red roses. She says that she likes these roses so much. They are so beautiful. You can agree to that, but something bugs you about these roses. They stand out in this gloomy courtyard so much. It almost looks like as if these roses are sucking all the life from the surrounding plants. She starts plucking one of the roses, and you suddenly get afraid that she'll pierce her fingers. You see the drops of blood on them in your imagination. But she, unlike you anticipate, does everything elegantly. She's not you after all. She takes the rose in her hand, prancing around, and starts plucking the petals one by one, saying, "She loves me. She loves me not. She loves me. She loves me not." The petals drop around her like bloody snowflakes, and her voice sounds more vivid than strains of the pianola. "She loves me. She loves me not. She loves me. She loves me not." The princess finishes her incantation and concludes, "She loves me. She loves me." You are asking her who is she talking about, and she answers, "You." Of course she was talking about you. There is no one around except you. You blush really hard, and she giggles, and she starts to laugh about you, and her laughter is more ringy than the song of a nightingale. She laughs and she laughs, as if you are the funniest thing in the world she ever met. But this laughter, it doesn't feel painful as the laughters in the conservatoire. You love this laughter as if you were completely ensnared by her. She might have you wrapped around her finger after all. The princess wipes her eyes with the back of her hand and says that was quite amusing, but she has an idea. She plucks another rose, deftly snaps it around her fingers and gives it to you, suggesting you to take a play. You take the rose, but oh no, you are too clumsy. You are quickly reminded that the rose is not just about petals, but also about thorns, and one of them pierces through your fingers. You bleed, but the princess says she'll fix that. She encloses her fingers around your hands and starts sucking blood from your finger. You fluster and blush, and you say it's inappropriate, but the princess assures you that it's just normal. When she was a kid, one of the mermaids always did that to her when she was hurt to stop the bleeding. But it's very far from normal. Your feelings don't lie to you. Your heart flutters, and they are just too strong. They sting even more painfully than any thorn of any rose could sting. The days pass after this small adventure in the courtyard, and your memories of the conservatoire, your memories of the pursuit in the forest, they all become a distant past. You become accustomed to your new life as a maid, and perhaps you don't understand yourself that you slowly develop feelings for the princess. But she, on the other hand, should understand that she's more mature than you in this regard. So it happened one day. You were very late at Princess's bedchambers, probably inappropriately late. You fixed the fireplace, you stood up and bid a farewell to the princess with a courtesy, but she stopped you. The weather was quite cloudy this day, and she says that she is afraid that there will be a storm. You think for a moment that it will be very cold to return to your bedchambers where there is no fireplace, unlike in princesses. The princess continues that it will be hard for her to sleep. She looks very vulnerable like that, and you cannot help but fret for her. But it's only natural. You are her lady's maid. It's natural for you to fret for her. You take the initiative and ask how can you help her, and she says that she'd like for you to sit near her and read her stories. That is, of course, if you're able to read. And here your pride takes over you, and you say that of course you are able to read. And probably you weren't the best in all the subjects in conservatoire, but literacy was definitely one amongst your strongest. The princess compliments you, but you brush the compliment off, saying it's okay, it's just natural to be able to read where you came from. But the princess says that the majority of her maids wasn't able to read. So she was reading the big old tome of fairy tales herself. She asks you to read it for her. Please, pretty please, read this to me. The book she mentions is very old and brittle, but she can entrust it to you. You sit beside the princess on her bed as bedsheets sink beneath your weight. You take a leather-bound book and open it, and you notice that the papers of this book indeed very old and brittle. You can feel all the years of this book's existence in your hands. How old is this book? Probably as old as this castle itself. You read a story about a courtesy love which ends in a wedding, and as you finish the story, the princess sighs and asks her rhetorically, "Oh, where is this knight that is gonna marry her? Or probably it's better to be some other princess. Oh, it's so lonely. So lonely that probably at this point the princess is ready to marry just a scullery maid." You react to this remark with a mumbling that it would be inappropriate for a woman of her status to marry a mere scullery maid. Your mumbles are really silent. They were not supposed to be heard by the princess. But the princess heeds to them, and she answers with quite a haughty voice. "So what of that? You are her maid, so her well-being and her happiness should go in the first place, not some thoughts about what's appropriate and what's not." And although you clumsily try to argue with that, somewhere deep inside you, you'd hope for something like that to happen. "Anyways," says the princess, "there would be a lot of hindrances to that. For example, this castle doesn't even have a priest." That's true, you think, and that would be not the only problem to implement this idea. "Can you read one more story for me, please?" asks the princess. "Please, just one more story." You answer to her that it's too late and you probably already should go to your bedchambers, but she insists, please, just one more story, and you cannot deny her. You read another story, quite an adventurous one that again ends in a marriage, and she asks you again, can you please read one more story and one more, and you read again and again. She's like a little child, unable to satiate her desires, and if she wasn't so calmly, this inability to take no as an answer would be definitely her defect. But she is indeed calmly, so you supply to her. You cannot deny her, and you continue reading a story after story, one after another. When it's already far past midnight and you are already too tired, the princess suddenly comes up with another idea. I know, why don't you sleep with me this night? Your eyes become wide as goose eggs, and you mumble that it's inappropriate. The lowly maid as yourself shouldn't be sleeping with the princess. The princess looks at you with disappointment and asks, don't you want to sleep with her? Do you not probably like her? Do you not like her company? And you have no other choice but just to supply to her and to agree. You come to your bedchambers to change to your nightgown, and then you come back to princess's room, and she looks at you as if you're some kind of knight that was just back from defeating some wild dragon. You lie on the bed beneath the blanket just near the princess, and your face becomes red as the red flowers in the courtyard. The princess slowly takes your hand and says that she feels very safe with you, and this storm that is going on outside is not a nuisance anymore. And she also should defend you because you are her vessel. She should care for you. She confesses that she will always be caring for you and defending you. And after she makes this promise, you fall asleep. You sleep deeply despite the storm howling in the distance, but you are not there. You are here, swaddled in the warm sheet of the blanket and soothed by the presence of the princess. You feel secure with her. You feel even loved. But when you wake up, you instantly understand that something is not right. You are not in the princess's chambers anymore, but in a completely different, dark and dank place. Your hands hang up in manacles, your spine is against a cold stone wall, and your bare feet touch the cold stone floor. It's so frigid that you cannot help but tremble, and your teeth stutter as castanets. Suddenly, the bitter taste fills your mouth, and you understand that there are other bodies around you, although they don't look like anything that can be alive anymore. There is a woman in an apron. She is completely mutilated. There is a hole in her stomach, and out of this hole comes some black burgundy goop that probably was red once. There is another younger lady, probably even younger than you, an adolescent, and she looks even more dire. The face is completely smashed inside. Some bodies miss their legs or hands completely. You understand that you should escape immediately. You squirm and writhe, but for no avail. You just make really loud noises with your manacles. The game itself asks you to stop these noises, but it makes a remark. You never listen to it. Perhaps you will listen to her. And beneath the stone arch of the dungeon you're in, she emerges, the princess. She starts with a vigorous giggling, as always. How are you doing, my dear? She asks. I see that you have a lot of energy in you. Compared to the drab surroundings, the dress she wears is as brightly red that it just pains to look at it. It was associated with romance before for you. Now it's associated with violence. The princess, as always, continues her energetic tattering. I really wanted to sit here and wait until you wake up, she says, but, she giggles, it's just inappropriate for a princess to be in this dang dark place. You see, it's just so cold here, and the ground is so hard. Of course, I could have brought my bedsheet here, my pillows, but they all would get just too dirty. I couldn't have done this. She approaches you and touches your face with her hand so gently and so warmly that you cannot help but think that it's very pleasant and to desire her touch for more. You're such a good girl, she says cajolingly. You've been so lovely so far. Why, you ask? If you say that I've been so lovely, why are you doing that to me? It's just natural for me, you see, she answers. I did it to everyone, to every of my maids. I loved them all. I loved them really much. But you see, she continues, being close to someone and spending time with someone is just not enough. And she glances at you with a glance full of fiendish fervor. I want to consume them. I want them inside of me. You look at her confused, and she makes a giggle, as sweet and as airy as a meringue. She didn't change. She was always like that. It's your perspective of her which changed. Did you not notice, she explains, that there were no guards, no servants around me? Did you not find it strange? Of course, she says, I said that my ministers dispatched them, but it's just because I really was afraid to lose you. The real reason there is no one around me is that I loved them. I loved them so bad that I eventually ate them all. And you understand that the same fate awaits you. You try to reason with her. You say, wouldn't all her subjects be discontent if they know what happens? Oh, my dear, she says, I'm not that stupid. I know everything about the plague. I'm not gonna become a queen of a kingdom. I'm gonna become a queen of bare lands, surrounded by no one. It's just so lonely. But why, you ask, if it's so lonely, why did you eat last servants that you had? You see, she explains, yes, I had them, but they all eventually will go away. Only if I eat them, only if I make them part of myself, I can guarantee that they will always be with me. And after all, she adds, isn't it really generous of me, a noble figure, to unite her flesh with such lowly peasants as all you? And saying that, she giggles, but she continues that it's not a problem. She loves you all after all. She's ready to do that. She comes closer to you. You can feel her breath and the warmth of her body. And, surrounded by all this stone coldness, you cling to this warmth of hers as to something good and hopeful. You look into her eyes that remind you of two dark thorns, and for a moment you feel that you see something humane there. It gets so lonely here. You remember her phrase. You think that you can understand. Like all this stems just from the loneliness deep inside of her. She approaches your body with her lips, red as a carnivorous flower, and she pierces your flesh with her sharp teeth. She twines her arms around you gently, and for a moment you believe that there is love there. Love so arduous, love so stubborn that it became crazy and inhumane. She pierces your throat, and your nightgown that was once white becomes bright red. Your body feels like it's on fire. You try to breathe, but it feels like it's impossible to do. You manage only to wheeze. You are quite in a dire situation. The game itself makes the comment. Sorry that I can't give you enough of my empathy, but after all, it's you alone to blame for that. It's your decisions that led you here. So what do? Do you accept your fate, or do you fight against it? And unlike in the previous route, I think that here actually it's more suitable to accept our fate. Maybe there is something masochistic inside of me saying that. But this situation looks too dire, and it feels like it's better to just melt in here, to just let death come to you in all the colors she means to come. The game is surprised that you picked this choice. Really, it asks, are you really okay with just rotting in this dungeon being eaten alive? But whatever. I was always okay with the choices that you make. I always supported you, no matter what you chose. But don't think that you can escape from me. Even if your blood is mingled with a princess's blood, you will not escape. I will always be with you. After all, I pledged my loyalty. I pledged that I will always be with you. You will never be alone.